Hey guys, it's Matthew here from Hearing Tracker, keeping you up to date with all new hearing aid technology. Today I'm doing a full review on the exciting and unique Signia Inseo Charge & Go AX. If you're keen on keeping up to date with the latest news in the hearing technology world, then make sure you subscribe to this channel, press that grey notifications bell, and you'll be updated every time I release a new video. This is different, and good different at that. Signia have a history of designing hearing aids that are a little bit more out there than other manufacturers, and have tried to redirect the hearing aid market a couple of times with their hearing aid ranges. Initially in 2018 with their Stiletto hearing aid, which was an incredibly unique, sleek and, dare I say it, cool receiver in the canal design. At the beginning of 2021, they then added to their portfolio for those users not interested in having something over the ear, with the modular in-the-ear hearing aid, the Active Pro, which looked more like a stylish set of wireless earbuds than a hearing aid. And now to complete the set, Signia have just released the Inseo Charge & Go AX, a custom-made in-the-ear hearing aid with all of the high-tech features that you could want from a hearing aid. With today's video, I wanted to make sure that you had one place to come where all of the information was together on the Inseo Charge & Go AX range. There are a few new features in the range, which I'll run through today, and the Inseos have some features that I've been working with over the last few years in previous generations of Signia hearing aids. So in this video, I'll also round up my experiences with these features as well. Not only looking at the positives and the benefits, but also covering some of the drawbacks that I've come across in my history of working with these hearing aids. I'll start today by discussing the physical attributes on the Inseos and then run into what's going on underneath the hood. The Inseos come in three different technology levels: the 3AX, the 5AX and the 7AX, with the latter being the most advanced of the range. As the technology level increases, as do the number of features that you have access to and the degree of automation that the hearing aid has. The price you'll pay will ultimately be tied to the technology level as well. According to pricing data from hearingtracker.com, there's about a $500 difference between each technology level. The suitability of these hearing aids really depends on your configuration of hearing loss. This shows the fitting range on these hearing aids. So if your hearing test results fall within the marked area on this graph, then they would technically be suitable for you. So whether you have a mild, moderate, severe or profound hearing loss, the hearing aids can be ordered to suit your degree of loss. These hearing aids come in two different styles: the ITC, which stands for an in the canal design, and ITE, meaning in the ear. The ITEs will fill the entire bowl of one's ear, whilst the ITCs just fill the entrance of the ear canal. So, as a result, is a little bit more discreet compared to the other one. These aren't to be mistaken for IIC hearing aids, which means invisible in the canal hearing aids, which are completely concealed in the ear canal. They do look pretty discreet when they're in the ear, however, they're not actually the type of hearing aids that will sit far down and be completely invisible. They're also not trying to be, in my opinion. They're actually trying to disguise themselves as wireless earbuds and compete in the hearable space in the market, trying to hide their hearing aids in plain sight and look like any other wireless earbuds that are currently out there on the market. As the range is custom made, first of all an impression needs to be taken of the ear and sent away to Signia, which normally takes around 7 to 10 days to design and build the hearing aid. They are then custom built for the shape and size of your specific ear canals. Visually, they look a lot cleaner than the previous generation of in-the-ear hearing aids by Signia, the Inseo NX range. They definitely come out a smaller fit, and that's partly due to the miniaturization of components and partly due to the Inseo NX range having had the antenna for the Bluetooth built on the outside of the hearing aid. This is now, in the new generation, tucked away neatly inside the shell, which leaves for a clean and flat finish. Now, at the end of the day, they still do look like a pair of in-the-ear hearing aids. However, with a few twists. Being rechargeable, they don't have a battery door, but at the same time they also have no exposed contacts as they use contactless charging. Whilst this may seem like a small thing, it's actually a huge benefit, as it means that they have one less opening on the hearing aids for moisture and dust to enter them and potentially cause a fault. They do have an IP68 rating, which means that they can technically be submerged in 1.5 meters of water for up to 30 minutes and they should still function afterwards. Now that doesn't mean that you should go swimming wearing them, but it does mean that if you were to accidentally jump in the shower whilst wearing them or get caught in the rain, it's not going to cause any damage. Historically, in-ear hearing aids have been more prone to breaking down as they do continuously live in a more hostile environment than a behind-the-ear set of hearing aids. So by removing both the battery door and any rechargeable contacts, Signia have hopefully produced a more robust hearing aid than we've previously seen from them. The hearing aids also sport an easy to find program button on the center of the faceplate. This is a soft key and can be programmed to perform a range of functions such as turning the hearing aids on or off and adjusting the volume or changing programs. You'll also notice at the top of the faceplate that both the ITC and ITE have twin microphones, which are a must when it comes to overcoming hearing issues in terms of background noise. They come in 6 different colours, which, similar to other hearing aid manufacturers, Signia produce their hearing aids to match different hair colours and skin tones. Your audiologist should have a chart to help you to be able to choose the right colour for you. They're mainly matted nowadays, so they don't tend to catch the light. If I were to personally go for one, I would go with the new matte black colour. That's the physical side of things covered. Let's talk about what these hearing aids can actually do. The AX platform, standing for Augmented Experience, is a new chip that we're seeing from Signia. It sports 2 separate audiological core processors, which as a result means that we should see improvements in these key areas. Now this all sounds very exciting, so let's delve a little deeper into how this is all supposed to help the end user. Most new hearing aids that we see nowadays have Bluetooth capabilities, and if you're thinking, why do I need Bluetooth in my hearing aids? It's a great question, and I've made a video covering this exact subject, which I'll link in the description to this video. But in summary, it means that you can stream phone calls, music, and the radio or podcasts directly to both of your ears. There's even an app that allows you to manually make adjustments to the settings on your hearing aids if you want to override the automatic settings. One drawback with some previous Signia hearing aids was their inability to stream with Android phones. So whilst the user was able to connect to an Android device and use the Signia app to adjust the hearing aids, they weren't able to actually stream media or phone calls as you can with an iPhone. However, they have now rectified this and it is possible to stream using both iOS and Android. Signia do recommend that an Android setup has a minimum of version 11 and Bluetooth version 5. Similarly to other tech such as Starkey or Oticon, I've mentioned before in their reviews that the downside of this setup versus the likes of Phonak or Unitron is that it doesn't use classic Bluetooth. So it will only connect with a smartphone or iPad rather than being able to connect to any Bluetooth device. There is also one other useful Bluetooth feature that both Phonak, Starkey and Unitron have that not many other hearing aid manufacturers do, which is the ability to pick up the hearing aid user's voice when on a phone call. This means that they can be used as a truly hands-free setup and your phone can be kept in your pocket. For hands-free phone conversations, you'll need to purchase the Signia Streamline mic accessory, which I'll come on to later in this review. However, I say this, but whilst this is great in theory, I do have patients wearing hearing aids from those other manufacturers that have the microphones built in and picking up their voice. And there are complaints that it is quite difficult for the person on the other end of the line to be able to hear them. This is because the hearing aid microphones can be known to pick up a little bit too much background noise, and so isn't necessarily the best solution. The INSEOs will be in direct competition with the newly released Starkey Evolve AI range. Whilst their CIC model isn't rechargeable, it does have Bluetooth connectivity with both Android and iOS. So I do wonder if it is something that Signia will be thinking about in the future as they continue to add to this range. As I mentioned earlier, the INSEOs comprise of 2 processors working in tandem. Signia are claiming that this allows them to completely separate the processing of the sounds that are in focus, such as speech, with one processor, with the environmental sounds which are handled by the other processor. The 2 signals are then treated very differently, with speech receiving a more linear amplification, whilst noise is compressed more aggressively. The hearing aids can then control how these sounds are combined, and in theory should create a greater contrast between the 2. This augmented focus then pulls the focus sounds closer and places the environmental sounds further away, with the end result helping you to focus on the speech you want to hear with more clarity and detail, whilst minimizing background noise in situations such as groups, crowds, or noisy listening environments. This fantastic concept has been around for a while in other hearing aids, such as the Phonak Paradise range, and you might be thinking, why do my hearing aids need to know if I'm moving or not? This is all to do with their automatic setting, calculating which direction you most likely want to be hearing from. The INSEOs will automatically detect when the hearing aid user is moving whilst having a conversation, and will then automatically adjust the directional microphones to focus on the most likely direction for speech to be coming from. Let me paint this picture for you. So normally if we're sat down, we would more often than not want to hear the sound of the person sat in front of us. However, if you think about it, as soon as we stand up and start walking, you would then walk and talk with someone alongside you. So we would want to be able to hear the person by our side instead of whatever's going on in front. The motion sensors help the hearing aids to recognize this and switch from a directional mode, picking things from in front of you, to a more omnidirectional mode, picking sounds up from the sides as well. The input dynamic range is the range between quietest sounds that the hearing aids will process against the loudest sounds. If a particularly loud sound enters the hearing aids and they don't have the ability to deal with that intensity of sound, then it can create a distortion in the signal, and it wouldn't sound great for the end user. Over the last few years, we've seen each manufacturer gradually increase their dynamic ranges, and Signia are following suit with a whopping 117 decibels, which is huge and will massively help with the processing of sound, particularly for those interested in their music. The end result will give us a more natural sound and less distortion in particularly loud environments. Each manufacturer has its own app designed for their Bluetooth compatible hearing aids, which is worth a video in itself just covering the app's functions. But to give you a brief overview, the Signia app is available on both iOS and Android devices and allows the hearing aid user to make adjustments to their hearing aids. It's possible to adjust the volume and change to different programs that you and your audiologist can work together on. Some users like to have that flexibility and backup to manually override the settings on the hearing aids. Others never use them at all. If this isn't for you, then don't worry. The hearing aids still function the same even if you don't have a smartphone. So I look at this app as more of a bonus feature than something that you need to rely on. Starting with the basics, the home screen on the app allows the hearing aid user to increase and decrease the volume, which can either be adjusted together or independently. If you currently have the app and you can only adjust each ear together, there has been a recent update, so it's worth downloading that. You can also adjust different programs set up by you and your audiologist, and you can adjust what Signia call the sound balance, which gives a little bit more emphasis on either the treble or the bass of the sound that you're hearing. I haven't found this massively useful due to its lack of flexibility. While this is more that you can do to manipulate the sound compared to the likes of Oticon, it doesn't actually give the user as much control as the 4-point graphic equalizer that you would have access to with the new Starkey Evolves. And this would probably be a natural progression in the evolution of the Signia app in the future. The final control is for directional hearing, which allows you to control the focus of the microphones on the hearing aids themselves. I've had feedback that this has proven to be beneficial in two key areas. Firstly, in a car, if you wish to focus the microphones to the left or right, depending on if you're a driver or a passenger. And also if you're in a restaurant where you really want to reduce background noise and focus on the person directly in front of you. The app even has a face mask mode to help you to hear somebody when they're wearing a face mask in front of you. Not only do you lose visual clues when someone's wearing a mask, but also they significantly reduce the sound of the frequencies somewhere between 2000 to 8000 Hertz. And this can be by as much as 3 to 12 decibels depending on the type of mask being worn. So the mask feature is designed to boost the gain by around 6 decibels between 4 to 8 kilohertz and does make a significant difference. There are a couple of things that the app is missing compared to other manufacturers, which I hope Signia update at some point in the near future, as they have proven to be invaluable, such as a Find My Hearing Aids feature, which locates the last time that your hearing aids and your phone were together should you lose a hearing aid. And with these hearing aids, the user also doesn't have the ability to make and save their own programs as they do with other hearing aid manufacturers, which again, just based on patient feedback, is a nice backup to have and puts you in the driver's seat of wearing your hearing aids. The Signia Assistant is something very unique to Signia and definitely worth getting excited about. This clever piece of interactive artificial intelligence is useful in two different ways. To use it, the user needs to click on the jolly face in the corner of the screen and you'll be greeted by your friendly Signia Assist chatbot. The user would then type in their hearing issue and the Signia Assist will present you with a list of potential solutions to choose from. It will then analyze the parameters in your acoustic environment and then based on the deep neural network will enhance the settings on the hearing aids to suit your requests and needs. This means that with your feedback, the hearing aids are in a constant state of evolution and change, without the need to revisit your audiologist for regular adjustments. Now, quite cleverly, this information is then all fed back to your audiologist and they can track the interactions that you have with the Signia Assistant, which also makes the feedback that you give at those follow-up appointments even more valuable. This should, as a result, lead you to reaching the point in which you're satisfied with your hearing aids even faster than with previous Signia technology. While Widex have a similar feature which they brought out a couple of generations ago in their hearing aids, it was nowhere near as interactive and smart as this. And in my opinion, it was a little bit less user-friendly and gave less effective results. The second great feature built within the Signia Assist is the handling tab, which again, depending on your input with the chatbot, will present you with specific and useful videos and guides to help you maintain and look after your hearing aids. Whilst I love this concept, things like the videos and guides are still made for the receiver in the canal hearing aids rather than the NCOs, so I do hope that this can be updated to be relevant for the specific hearing aids that user has. I actually really love this idea and think that it can be massively useful to cut down the number of visits to see your audiologist. For the right patient, that is. However, I still don't think that it will fully replace the need for you to have an audiologist. The NCO Charge & Go AX only comes in a rechargeable form and is powered by a contactless magnetic resonance charging system and uses the industry standard lithium-ion rechargeable batteries. This style of magnetic resonance charging allows for a drop and go functionality, meaning that you no longer have to worry about lining up the metal contacts to enable the charging. It's available across all technology levels, and for a 4-hour charge, one should get a full 24 hours of battery life. Now, this is slightly reduced if you spend a significant amount of time streaming from your phone. However, I haven't had any patients reporting that it hasn't lasted for a full waking day. There is also clever circuitry in place, meaning that the hearing aids can be left on charge overnight and they shouldn't have any damage done to them. Plus, you don't even need to turn the hearing aids on or off. This is all automatic from the moment that you insert or remove the hearing aids from the charger. The charger is neat and tidy and looks clean and very intuitive to use. The only thing that I will report is that it's pretty hefty in size. If you also happen to forget to charge your hearing aids one night, you can still put them in the charger for 30 minutes whilst getting ready in the morning, and you'll have 6 hours charge from a 30-minute blast in the charger. They haven't yet brought out a travel charger which charges on the go, similar to other manufacturers. These traditionally actually store battery life in the case itself, and hopefully this is something that we'll see with future developments of the Signia range. Signia offer 3 different strategies against tinnitus depending on which is the most appropriate for the user. This is something that you should work out with your audiologist to find the most suitable style of therapy to help and manage your tinnitus. Firstly, they have the static noise tinnitus therapy signals, of which you can choose from 5 preset noise signals, plus you have the ability to customize the sound to meet your specific needs. Second of all, they also have 4 different ocean wave therapy signals, which are designed to mimic the sound of the sea. And then finally, they have the Signia tinnitus notch therapy, which is my favorite of the 3. Signia hearing aids are the only hearing aids currently using a strategy called notch therapy, which is designed specifically for those experiencing tonal tinnitus, such as ringing, buzzing, or whistling, which is the most common type of tinnitus that people suffer with. This approach is actually really different to using a masking sound, and Signia claim that the concept behind notch therapy is not to drown out the tinnitus, but to teach the brain how to ignore it completely. The frequency of your tinnitus is targeted, and amplification of the sound is then turned down and relegated to background noise, making it easier for your brain to ignore. In theory, this way you don't waste energy actively trying to shut out the sound, and you can focus your energy and concentration on other things, which in itself helps you to be able to overcome your tinnitus. Interestingly, unlike ocean wave and static noise sound therapy, this method is done inaudibly, so you might not even realize that you're going through tinnitus sound therapy. One great feature that I've taken advantage of over the last 18 months with all hearing aid manufacturers is the ability to remotely adjust the settings on hearing aids without the patient even being in clinic. Again, with Signia, this is done via the Signia app and allows me to adjust the settings on the hearing aid from the clinic whilst the patient is sat at home. I personally don't like to make remote changes too early in the fitting process, as nothing beats having the patient sat in front of me to get those initial adjustments right. There are also a few features that it's not possible to adjust remotely. However, for the most part, it's great to have this backup if the patient can't make it to the clinic. During the process, you can even see your audiologist via the webcam. The only other thing that I'm not keen on with remote adjustments is that the first thing that I would normally always do if a patient walks into the clinic is to examine their ears and see if that's the reason for us needing to be making adjustments. So I'm not able to rule out any ear-related issues that may be causing the needs for those adjustments. A cross system is designed for those with single-sided deafness and involves the user wearing a transmitter on the dead ear, which then wirelessly transmits the signal over to the better hearing ear, giving the user the perception of 360-degree hearing. The INSEO AX allows for cross amplification when coupled with the receiver in the Canal Pure Charge and Go AX. Signia have done a great thing here because on occasion manufacturers are a little bit late to add this technology to their portfolio. In the past, other manufacturers such as Phonak have made a custom-made cross, so I think that at some point it might be worth Signia looking into this as well. Similarly to most manufacturers nowadays, Signia recognise where hearing aid technology alone will struggle to overcome hearing challenges. And as a result, they have a great range of accessories, such as the Streamline mic, which is great for hands-free phone calls or using as a remote microphone. Their Streamline TV, which allows for streaming of the television directly to both hearing aids. And finally, their mini pocket remote control, which is useful should you not have a smartphone but still wish to make adjustments without pressing the buttons on the back of your hearing aids. As you can see, Signia have grown their portfolio, which definitely stands out against other manufacturers. And whilst there are similar things out there on the market, such as the new Starkey Evolve or the Phonak Marvel Black, there are some advantages that do make the INSEO Charge and Go a unique product, which I think other manufacturers will start to follow. There are a few things that I would like to see, such as the telecoil, which is a really basic thing that should be included within all hearing aids nowadays, and a little bit more control for the user in the app. But for the most part, these hearing aids are definitely a strong contender in the current hearing aid market. I do hope you found this video useful, guys. If you like this video, please hit like. If you have any questions, make sure you drop them in the comments below. And if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do so. I'll see you in the next video.